Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. Today I'm going to be talking about the tight ends. I think it's time to look at a big play tight end. Obviously love the job Tyler Higbee has done with the Rams, but I think it's time to start preparing for what comes after Tyler Higbee, or at least adding more to that tight end room. I like the development of Davis Allen, at least his first year. His second year, he dealt with some back issues, so I think it really held him back. Not saying he can't be something, but I think adding another guy to that room, I think they likely trade away Colby Parkinson. So we're going to get into it. Before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JK Bogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Kick. And in addition to that, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor is Mando, and you can get $5 off their starter pack using my code JK Bogan. Love using Mando. I use it all the time. I've been using it for years. Highly recommend. So if you want to get, into the action here, get a starter pack for $5 and basically 40% off, you can use that code JKBogan at shopmando.com. All right. So tight ends. This is not a great tight end market. Full disclosure, it's not. The number one tight end in the market was just cut like 2 days ago. That's what we're looking at. So let's dive into the potential trade options. We'll start off with that. So I'm not saying this is 100% going to happen. We don't know how things will work. But number 5, Isaiah Likely, probably the least likely of the 5. But the reason I listed him here is because the Ravens have a tough decision to make. Now, next year, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews will be free agents. They pretty much can only choose one or the other. And while Likely is definitely the younger guy, it's not necessarily a guarantee that they move on from Mark Andrews like everyone is saying. So I'm not totally out on the idea that Mark Andrews gets extended and they move on from Likely, but I'm not totally into the idea that they move on from the young tight end they drafted for this very moment. So for now, I'll say this is the least likely option, but Isaiah Likely at number 5 for potential trade options. Number 4, Kyle Pitts. Yes, Rams fans are obsessed with Kyle Pitts. This has been a connection to the Rams for, I think, the last 3 years. Now, I don't really see it happening. Big cap hit this year because of the 5th-year option. I just don't see it. But if they do look to trade him and the Rams somehow have the cap space for it, maybe it's a one-year thing, what have you. Still, I don't think it's extremely likely. It's just worth mentioning. Number 3 is Mark Andrews. I do think this is likely. I'm not saying super likely, but I could see this. Mark Andrews and Tyler Higbee in tandem would look really good. This would be likely a rental. I don't necessarily see them paying Mark Andrews long-term, but maybe they would. I think those two in tandem in this offense with Matthew Stafford trying to win a Super Bowl would make a lot of sense. Is Mark Andrews, are his days numbered in Baltimore? Dropping the 2-point conversion. I know a lot of people get on him about that. Who knows? Maybe they are. But I really like Mark Andrews. The guy has plenty left in the tank. He's gotten much better as a blocker, obviously a great receiving threat and a red zone threat, something the Rams definitely would take. So keep an eye on Mark Andrews as a potential trade option. Number 2 is David Njoku. Now, I have mentioned Njoku on this channel countless times because I do think he's so underrated. He is in such a bad environment right now. The Browns don't even know who is going to be their starting quarterback. They're trying to hold Myles Garrett away from being traded. They are literally okay with him skipping games as long as he is not traded. It's bizarre, right? Jimmy Haslam won't even meet with players. It's bad. Why would Njoku want to be there? For what reason? Because you were drafted there? No, it's time to go and try and win a Super Bowl. And by the way, if you go to Sean McVay offense with Tyler Higbee and you got Matthew Stafford throwing you the football, best quarterback you've ever seen, I think that'd be a nice fit. Njoku makes a lot of sense. His contract does expire after the season. He's still young. He's still incredibly athletic, works after the catch, can work in the red zone. I think the Rams are really going to focus on trying to turn those red zone opportunities, totally eliminate those 20-yard field goals and turn those red zone opportunities into touchdowns. And I think the best way to do that is going out and getting red zone threats. It's why Mark Andrews makes sense. It's why David Njoku makes sense. But number one here on this list, you check the box this year, you check the box for the foreseeable future, and you don't have to put Tyler Higbee out of his starting position. Michael Mayer already did a video, touched on, looked at some film on him as well. Mayer makes way too much sense. He shouldn't even be available, but it's a different situation. New ownership to an extent. Obviously the minority owner and Tom Brady, who's new, didn't draft Michael Mayer. They go out, they get Brock Bowers. He ends up being one of the best rookie pass catchers you've ever seen. And so really they're kind of in a position here where they spend a second round pick on Mayer. He's not going to give him a second round pick in return. His value is starting to dwindle. He doesn't have much of a role. He doesn't want to be there because Brock Bowers is there and all these guys are kind of taking up all these opportunities. And of course, when you take up these opportunities on a rookie deal, how are you going to get extended? How are you going to make your money when you hit free agency? So he wants out. And I think the Rams are a perfect fit because this is a team that, one, was interested in him in that draft. Two, this guy, he can block. He's not the best blocker in the world, but he's not a bad blocker. He can block. He can help you yards after the catch. He's going to make guys miss. He made 5 guys miss this past season, which is basically more than anybody else on the Rams this past season. So that's his thing. I think yards after the catch, making guys miss. It's a big reason why the Rams drafted Gerald Everett, in the first draft in 2017. But I think Michael Mayer, if he is available, the Rams are at least going to have some interest. I don't know if they'll work out a trade, but I think it's a no-brainer, perfect fit for him. And it gets you on the track to have your tight end of the future. So I love that. But those are the trade options. Free agency, you don't have a ton to work with. Kylen Granson at 5, and I picked through the free agents and the guys that made the most sense or the most intriguing. Kylen Granson at 5 hasn't really been utilized. To me, this is a third option. This is if you want to add another guy to the room that has some versatility, but you don't want to step on Davis Allen's toes as far as his development. Number 4 is Tommy Tremble, who was with the Panthers. I think he's shown some signs. Young player, good tight end, comes from a tight end school. Not a bad blocker either. He's an interesting one. Red zone threat potentially. I would rather have Mayer, but Tommy Tremble's intriguing, so he's number 4. Number 3, he's getting up there in age, but Mike Gesicki can still catch that red zone target. And I think he's an intriguing option here. Spent his time, worked with Joe Burrow this past year. Could be an intriguing option. I don't think he would necessarily supplant Tyler Higbee, would be probably the number 2 there. So he's an option. Number 2, he was the top tight end in the market, Jawan Johnson, who can't really block much at all, but he's such a good, out wide, flex tight end. Really good in the red zone. Johnson can run routes, nice natural hands. I mean, good tight end. Again, he just can't really block. So I still think he probably wouldn't be playing ahead of Tyler Higbee. But this last one, number 1, is the best fit, make no mistake about it, for the Los Angeles Rams. And that is Evan Engram, who was just released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is only a year removed. Keep in mind, I'm not talking about 2024. I'm talking about 2023. Only a year removed from 1,000 yards, right? Or almost 1,000 yards, over 100 catches. The guy is so talented. Ingram's issue has always been he's not the best blocker, but he got better over the course of his career. This doesn't have to be a long-term deal, but if you get Evan Engram in there to play alongside Tyler Higbee, you can move Evan Engram all over the place. He's incredibly versatile, and we know this. He ran that 4.4 40 time, at the combine. He's been in the league for quite a while, but he's so talented. He's such a good player after the catch, and he puts himself in the best position to succeed. It was kind of a surprise to see the Jaguars move on from him the way they did. Obviously, he's dealt with some injuries. It's why he is available, but make no mistake about it. This is, in my opinion, by far the best option for the Rams at tight end. I just think Evan Engram is an absolute stud. I think the injuries, obviously, again, you have to keep in mind the injuries are what are allowing these guys to be available. So you know that there's going to be risk involved. He had 47 catches for 365 yards and a touchdown in 2024, but he had 114 catches and 963 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2023. Had 766 yards before that. He has shown the ability to blow up. And so I think you add him, you give Stafford, an Evan Engram there, and there's some wonders that can be worked there. He's 30 years old. You could give him a 2-year deal, 3-year deal, whatever. You could just give him a 1-year deal. I think it's a perfect fit. Like, of everyone that I just mentioned, definitely would prefer Evan Engram, then probably Michael Mayer. But we're not done. What about the NFL draft? Okay. Not saying he'll be there, but Tyler Warren, he's an option. Colston Loveland doesn't break as many tackles as Warren, doesn't make too many guys miss, isn't the best blocker, but he's more of a bigger wide receiver, like a route runner. Harold Fannin Jr. makes everybody miss. He makes more than any tight end in the draft. He reminds me so much of Chig Okonkwo, who I really liked coming out of Maryland years back. He starts for the tight ends currently. Elijah Arroyo from Miami U is available. Mason Taylor, Gunnar Helm, Terrence Ferguson, Mitchell Evans really intrigues me out of Notre Dame, and Aronde Gadsden from Syracuse. Now, the question is, what are the 3 best options? As I've always ended these videos. The 3 best options: Evan Engram, Michael Mayer, and I'm going to say Harold Fannin Jr. because let's start off with why Evan Engram is the best option. Engram is 30, and I understand he's dealt with some injuries, but this guy is exactly what the Rams are missing. See, Tyler Higbee is a do-it-all tight end. Evan Engram isn't. Engram can be, but his most important role is how he works as a pass catcher. And when I watch this guy, when he's healthy, he's as dangerous as anybody to move the chains. So if you have him, and you got Higbee, and you got Puka Nacua, and you have Tutu Atwell, and then whoever else you add in, whether that's Devontae Adams or somebody through the draft, Jordan Whittington, you're starting to see how this could really be a problem for teams. See, I always believe that Sean McVay wanted kind of this flex tight end. He knows Tyler Higbee works in line, and if they decide to keep Colby Parkinson, he can work in line. But having a guy that can be moved around as a wide receiver threat, that is what Sean McVay has been trying to find. It's why Brock Bowers they tried to trade up for him. It's why Dalton Kincaid was coveted. These are flex tight ends. And so simply put, this is a flex tight end option that doesn't come around very often. And now that he's available in a bad tight end free agency class, he's going to have suitors. And this could be a bidding war. But that said, it's also a good tight end draft. You have guys at the top like Tyler Warren Loveland that could go in the first round. So it's interesting. Plus, there are other positions of need. Not everybody is trying to shell out a ton of money to tight ends. So I think the Rams might have a shot here. If they want him, they might be able to get him. Evan Engram, to me, number 1. Number 2 is Michael Mayer for all the reasons I listed before. I just think, again, if Sean McVay and the Rams are trying to find a guy that can win after the catch, can generate more yards, and throwing to the tight end isn't just a chore, it actually has its benefits, unlike this past season, aside from Tyler Higbee, then yeah, Michael Mayer makes a lot of sense. I think at most would be a 4th-round pick. The Rams don't currently have. So maybe a 5th-round pick, and then you give up something in 2026. I don't think he would cost that much. So I think he's number 2. And speaking of cost, the reason the number 3 guy is not Warren or Loveland, and it's actually Harold Fannin Jr., is because Harold Fan Jr. might be there in the third round. The Rams won't have to spend a first-round pick on him. And guess what? He's as productive as anybody. And guess what? He generates more missed tackles than anybody. So when I'm looking at my next tight end option, big play threat, all of that, I'm not saying he needs to streak down the field 50 yards running a 4.445. No, I want guys that are going to make guys miss. Now, obviously, somebody like Evan Engram can do both. But then you have somebody like Michael Mayer, who's still decently fast, not on the Evan Engram, scale. He's still decently fast, but he can make guys miss. And then, of course, Harold Fan Jr. made more guys miss than any tight end in this draft. So that's how I feel about that. And I know some people will disagree with me, and that's totally fine. But as far as missed tackles generated, I think that is a big thing. I think it's a huge thing. And I know people will bring up, well, what about Gerald Everett? Okay, they generated missed tackles. Gerald Everett didn't end up being a superstar or anything like that. They didn't even bring him back. That's true. But Harold Fannin Jr. gives them 4 years of control. If drafted, of course, in the second or third round. If he's drafted in the first, you get a fifth-year option. Of course, that is optional. But Harold Fannin Jr. generated 32 missed tackles as a tight end this past year. Tyler Warren, in second place, generated 15. Gunnar Helm, 12. Mitchell Evans, 7. Mason Taylor, 5. Aronde Gadsden, 5. Colston Loveland and Elijah Arroyo generated just 3. So maybe I put way too much of an emphasis on it. Maybe I don't. But the point being is that is something that matters to me personally. Like when I'm looking for a tight end, I want to make sure that he could break tackles. Why else am I throwing to a slower, heavier wide receiver or a lighter offensive lineman? Why else would I do that? Am I doing that for my health? That's my thing. See, that short pass to the flat, that 2-yard, tight end goes down immediately, that's not why they throw that. They don't throw that for the 2-yard gain. They throw that because they want the tight end, who is a bigger wide receiver or a lighter offensive lineman, to bounce off defenders and make plays after the catch. The Rams just don't have that. So when you see a pass out to the flat and it's a 2-yard gain and the guy gets tackled by an arm tackle, that's not supposed to happen. That's just what the Rams are used to. That's just what they have. They don't have a guy like George Kittle. They don't have a guy like Sam Laporta. They don't have a Brock Bowers. It's time to add that to your arsenal. Higbee can break that, but even Higbee, he doesn't have a ton of missed tackles generated, and he's more of a well-rounded tight end where I could trust him blocking as well. I'm talking about getting a guy that is absolutely going to be a weapon as a flex tight end. And the 3 guys I mentioned are obtainable via free agency, via a lower draft pick being traded away, and via a day 2 pick being spent like Harold Fannin. To me, those are the 3 guys that make the most sense. Am I against Tyler Warren? Absolutely not. Am I against Colston Loveland? Absolutely not. But I will say I am over Matthew Stafford rolling to his right, throwing a nice pass on a perfect target to keep a guy that he just continues to move forward, turns upfield, and he's cut down and he goes down immediately. I'm over that. I want to see broken tackles. I want to see missed tackles. I want to see a benefit to throwing to a tight end other than the fact he wears a different jersey number and it looks better in the box score that you threw to 8 receivers instead of 9, or 9 receivers instead of 8 receivers. Like, that's where I'm at. And I need to really drive home the focus and the point that I keep pushing on people. There's a reason why I continue to say I want another tight end. I like Davis Allen, who, by the way, made guys miss in his rookie year. Last year, he had the back issue. You can still keep Davis Allen. This isn't writing the script on him. This isn't it, right? Hunter Long's a free agent, and that's it. You don't have anybody else on the roster. So Davis Allen is fine. He could be your number 3 and maybe develop into a number 2 or a number 1 down the line. But right now, this team being a team that's ready to win a Super Bowl, I think one of the big things they are missing is a tight end that can make guys miss in space, that can generate yards after the catch that just simply aren't there. That is what they are missing. Whether you agree with me or not, I'm telling you right now, we have been so programmed as Rams fans or Rams supporters or whatever into believing that a tight end is basically just another receiver and it's just another weapon. There is supposed to be added value. You see it with Tyler Higbee, but if they're not throwing to Tyler Higbee, you don't normally see it. It just feels like a slower wide receiver, not as coordinated. That's not what they're supposed to be. Why do you think they're a bunch of guys that came from playing basketball, like an Antonio Gates or, a Tony Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski? Like these guys, that is what a tight end should be. And flex tight ends don't even need to block. It's good to be able to block, but they don't need to. So these guys are just bigger receivers. So I expect them to run the same way. That's why Kyle Pitts makes sense for a lot of people, right? Mark Andrews is more built like a tight end. David Njoku is more built like a receiver. Evan Engram is built like a receiver. So to me, Evan Engram, no brainer. Perfect fit. If you don't have the cap space for him for whatever reason, then Michael Mayer's the next best option. And if you don't get a trade done with him, to me, Harold Fannin Jr. makes the most sense for the Rams. There is, some attractive options in this draft, but to me, aside from Warren, Loveland, and Fannin, those to me are the three that you can tell me are likely to start or at least have a significant role in the passing attack. Now, Mitchell Evans, I think, has some crazy upside. I think he's going to be a way better tight end in the NFL than he was in college. But that's also kind of along the lines of Davis Allen, where we're talking about more of a long-term piece. So if they were to double dip on tight ends, by all means, Mitchell Evans. If they sign Evan Engram, Mitchell Evans makes a lot of sense in day 3. If they trade for Michael Mayer, Mitchell Evans makes a lot of sense in day 3. That's what I'm talking about. But right now, those are the 3 guys: Engram, Mayer, and Fannin Jr. And shout out, because my brother has been singing the praise, Tyler Ellenbogen. He has been singing the praise of Harold Fannin Jr. for probably over 3-4 months. Well, finally, I did get a chance to watch the tape. We'll have a separate video breaking down the film, all that on here. But I'll tell you, this guy really has a lot of what the Rams are looking for. He doesn't do it particularly textbook or pretty, but it works. And so I think that's what we're looking at. Those 3, those are the best options. But what say you? Drop them in the comment section below. Again, just know I'm not against any of these players like a Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland, but I'm telling you, guys like Harold Fannin Jr., guys like Evan Engram, guys like Michael Mayer, they make guys miss. They generate yards after the catch, and that is an important trait if you're going to add another big play flex tight end. So that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one. We'll be talking about the right tackle and who's going to be taking over potentially for Rob Havenstein after this season. You guys take care. I'll see you soon. Later, folks. All right, guys. So once again, just want to let you guys know that you can check out my new side project, The Lounge. I interview athletes, musicians, actors, actresses, all the 9. So definitely check it out over on the Lounge with Jake Ellenbogen channel. Be sure to subscribe and enjoy. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do have a Discord channel for my community on this channel. And if you want to be a part of it, it is free. The link is in the description below. You can sign up. This is basically a 24/7 Rams channel, and we are almost at 1,100 members. So if you want to be a part of it, just hit the link in the description below.